Thank you for listening to the Following Films podcast. Today I'm joined by two-time Oscar-nominated cinematographer Jeff Cronenweth. Jeff joins me to talk about his work on Tron Aeres, which is now in theaters. He also shot Amazon's Being the Ricardos for director Aaron Sorkin, starring Nicole Kidman and Javier Bardem. Kidman was so impressed with Jeff's work that she later asked him to shoot her now famous AMC Theaters commercial. We also dive into his long-running collaboration with David Fincher on films like Fight Club, The Social Network, and Gone Girl. Plus, Jeff gives us a glimpse into his latest project, the just-begun follow-up to The Social Network called The Social Reckoning. Aaron Sorkin is not only writing this one, but is also directing. With a stellar cast that includes Jeremy Allen White, Mikey Madison, Jeremy Strong, Betty Gilpin, and Bill Burr, this is easily one of my most highly anticipated films of the year. When I first heard about The Social Reckoning, my initial reaction was, why on earth would they want to make that? But the more I've thought about it, the more I've realized it's an essential story, a vital piece of modern history that deserves to be explored and cemented in the public consciousness. Today's episode of the Following Films podcast is brought to you by Google Workspace. We use Google Workspace to keep things running smoothly and efficiently here at Following Films, and I can't recommend it enough. Try it for your business and see how it can help you stay organized and connected. If you sign up using my link, you'll get a discount, and you'll be supporting the show. Check the show notes for a direct link. Tron Aeres is now playing in theaters everywhere. Go see it on the biggest screen you can. It's an incredible cinematic experience. I hope you enjoy the show. Thanks. Well, I had a chance to actually, same son, watch Tron with him yesterday. I took him, and it was a wonderful experience to get to see that through his eyes. I think it's like when you have kids and you get to re-experience Disney, or you get to re-experience Christmas again, and these things that you've kind of gotten cynical towards, and to literally see his jaw drop open at certain moments. And this was just fantastic. And I highly recommend that people see this with their children, because it's just a wonderful movie that I think that he'll appreciate the layers on it years to come. But there was more than enough spectacle for, any kid to really enjoy.
My kids are all grown now. So you think it's odd if I just grab one off the street to go see the movie and have an experience?
It really does. Did you have that experience with your kids? Was there?
I most certainly did. Yeah, it's a bonus that you get to relive a lot of things that you hadn't seen for a long time. You see it through their eyes, but you also get to see it again with an excuse of why you're seeing it, and you get a different perspective on it. I loved every bit of it.
Oh, absolutely. It was a couple weeks ago, getting into the spooky season. So I showed him the William Castle Haunting of Hill House, kind of that thing. And when it gets, if you've seen the film and it gets to the ending of it, and he makes this assumption about really bad special effects from the 50s, and then the turnaround at the end of that, and he was just floored by it because he had never really seen that kind of twist in a film before. And it was just, there's a point though where films like Tron, it elevates the idea of what special effects are for him so much. So there's only so much time I can still show him Jason and the Argonauts and have him appreciate it.
Absolutely. No doubt about it.
So then, could you talk a little bit about what your idea for the look of this film and your approach to it? Because there's some wonderful visual work here, but that's really big, but there's also these small moments that I really appreciated also. I think probably my favorite shot in the film is when they're pulling up to the convenience store and the camera, I think it's mounted on the door, and the way that you change that. And I think it just really is a beautiful encapsulation of that entire relationship in a shot. And I'm just wondering, what was your approach to the film?
Well, it's fun in the sense that I got to define four worlds, basically. We had the Dillinger grid, three grids that are a digital world that are filled with perfection and structure and mechanical order, if you will. Mm-hmm. And that would kind of have its fingers in everything, and set design and outfits and the way the actors move and the way we move the camera in those scenes, especially with Ares and Athena in the Dillinger world. And then we had the Incom grid, which they invade, and you get to see a little bit of the opposition. And the thing that I like to simplify it is it's the white cowboy hat and the black cowboy hat, really. And you right off the bat, you know who the good guys are and who the bad guys are, and there's no confusion until one of them starts turning and have a conscience. But and then Flynn's world, to go back to the 1982 original.
Yeah.
I'm going to come back to elaborate on that, because I'll tell you the four worlds, and then the real world, which is supposed to be fallible and not always pretty and gritty and have texture, and we're all familiar with it and we live in it, and sometimes it's beautiful and sometimes it's not. And and it's chaotic, and you don't always know what's going to happen, and you can't control all the elements. And so just from a philosophical standpoint, that was like the way to go and approach it. It's rare that you get to define four different kind of worlds with colors and with texture. And so that was wonderful. Probably the most, I mean, I love the way that both the red and blue Incom and Dillinger grids look, but the fun was to go back and try to emulate the 1982, which, was done brilliantly by Bruce Logan. And they shot, if I probably will mess this up, but was my understanding they shot some of that stuff in black and white and then hand colored it to get some of that action, and inherently, gained grain in the process. And so for us, we had a layer of grain on a film grain, and then we doubled it, and it was like,
Okay.
like boiling off the screen. But then when you took out the color and then added little traces of color and desaturated it back, it just everybody's smiling the whole time. It was so much fun to do. And of course you have it with the two most interesting opposite characters, if you will, in Jeff Bridges, godlike presence, and then Jared's childlike at that point with his creator, and then the simplified world that they were in the Flynn grid, and that kind of long talk up on the way to get to the transfer portal. I don't know. It felt so right and worked,
Oh, it absolutely worked. And, kind of what we were starting with, when I talked to my son about his favorite part of the film, and it was actually, he said the little bit thing that he's communicating with in that. And it's just that some things just still work, and that you were able to pull that off, and you get the look. And he understood, even though he's never seen the original Tron, never seen the remake of it, or the sequel, never seen Legacy, but he was able to go into this completely understand that this is an old computer that they're inside of. And he's like, yeah, I get it. This is old special effects. That's what they were doing. And he just really appreciated that feel and texture to it.
And in a way, it's as simple as Bit is the dog that helps you lead you out of the forest,
Yeah.
And it's so simple, but so powerful and resonates in so many different ways and stuff. And so those worlds were really fun. I'll give you like a side note about arriving at some of the tonalities. At the beginning of the film, I had a very long prep because visual effects, production design, costume, and cinematography were so intertwined and had to be set in motion so far in advance. Like those light suits that Weta made were incredibly complicated, and if not done right, on the Kaczynski Legacy one, they told war stories of actors getting burned, of people getting shocked, half the suit not lighting up when it's supposed to, and I think I literally had like 100 channels on each suit. That's not the helmets or anything that I could control, and density and color tones, and when they'd shift, and because you have a lot of different things happening, and then you consider that tonality, whether it's the Incom grid or the Dillinger grid, all of the sets, all of the light cycles, all the lights all have the same color red or same color blue, depending on the world you're in.
Sure.
And to manufacture that through 10 or 20 different kinds of textures and surfaces is a long process to get it all to work right. And then to lay miles of that into sets to build it into the grid sets, it's a lot of stuff that has to come to fruition for that all to work out. And it takes a great deal of planning and time to arrive at that. And so we started pretty early, but what I would say is about it was funny to me because we had some pretty bold renditions from the art department after discussions about what we thought the grids would look like. And even some of the, once they make it into the real world, some representations of what nighttime in Vancouver might look like. And I'd get visitors from Disney and they'd kind of scroll by and they'd every once in a while go, so is it really going to be like that dark or that rich or this thick? My argument would always be, we have to differentiate ourselves from Legacy. Legacy was beautiful, but it was beauty that stayed within the grid predominantly. You know, they rarely,
Right.
like the very beginning, they were outside. At the very end, they get outside of it. All of it was in the grid, and it was really clean. And this is going to be different. Our grids will have some of that same texture, but we have more saturation. But once they get out into the real world, it has to be gritty. It has to be really different to do it. And it's a story point. What he's letting go of is perfection to come into this world that's full of fallible humans and machinery that doesn't work and walls that have graffiti and all the different things. I mean, he gets to listen to Depeche Mode more, but you know, and so they would go through there, and then maybe four months into it, they come up so excited that Trent and Atticus agreed to do it, and Nine Inch Nails was going to, instead of just them as entities, they're going to use the Nine Inch Nails label and come to it. And having shot Nine Inch Nails videos back in the day, like with Mark Romanek, and then having done Social Network and Dragon and Gone Girl with Fincher, where they first came in scoring, and even my brother and I directed a Batman Arkham game spot that I asked Trent to do the score for, and he did. And so the tone of the people changed. They'd come walking in, they go, "It's going to be that rich and dark, isn't it?" And I'm like, it was never going to change. I just was waiting for everyone to catch up. But what that did is it gave me more leeway to go in the direction that I felt was right for it, because now I had the score was going to have more reverb and more bass and more Nine Inch Nails, and the images and the tonalities all had to sync up. And so it was kind of a relief, if you will.
Well, and it's such a beautiful melding. I mean, I could not imagine this film without that score. And there's a lot of times that it's, you see Nine Inch Nails, so you're paying a little bit more attention to it, but you do forget at some point in time. And it's just, there's moments where it's just pulsing and moving the narrative forward. And it's so driving it that I could not imagine it without this. And it's such a wonderful addition to it, because the film, it looks incredible, but it also sounds incredible as well.
It really does. And the visual effects are phenomenal.
Yeah.
Costumes are phenomenal. The production design was amazing. I mean, a couple of those sets are, you think that they're all just a set piece and green screen and CG.
That's what I was going to ask. There's stuff that feels very tactile, and I can't see the lines. I mean, I'm not great at it anyway at this point in time, but there's moments where I swear there's things that people might assume are digital that are actually practical.
Yeah, all three of our biggest sets, where Aeres talks to Dillinger and the giant head, per scale, that was that big, and that set was just gorgeous. What's not real is outside the window,
right? Of course,
but and then the regeneration room the extraction room where they bring Greta Lee into it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That set was incredible, beautiful. And Dillinger's office was all scale. And the warehouse, parts of it were real and parts of it were not. But like the brain bar where all the computers were and all the engineers sat, bringing all the laser 3D models into play and stuff. That was all done. So it was massive, and
That's the one area. The warehouse is the one area I would assume. Oh yeah, that's all practical, no problem. Warehouse, and of course that's where the digital is. So
exactly. Funny note that most people won't know is that the two jet pilots
uh-huh.
in the jets, both that crash, well, they eject out, so nobody
Right.
got.
Yes. Yeah.
Are Trent and Atticus.
I didn't realize that. I had no idea. That's amazing. So
Yeah,
wait, because
you
both of them
stop it.
crash. Who's which one? Because they
They,
separately they go. Which
they
one's
both.
which? Yeah.
I think Atticus crashes first, then Trent. Because I
Okay.
remember, like in color correcting it, you have the disadvantage now until you get a DVD or something, or can stream it and stop it. But of course we stop it and correct, and you can see their names are on their helmets.
That's incredible. So you will be able to actually see that. See, there you go. This is a film that clearly I think that you can watch this and it's escapist fun and you can have a good time with it. But there is more going on here that you can go back and rewatch it. And those little details are the kinds of things that just make something rewatchable. But I love the idea of my son becoming more familiar with Frankenstein and not just the power line that's in here, but the idea of man dealing with his creation. And
Sure.
that's the theme of the movie. It's actually confronting that, and where you have your bad guy in the film, you have your villain who's actually more complicated than is giving credit, because he's giving off this absurdly big cocaine fueled bad Euro Club energy in the beginning of it. Then as the film goes along, you see there's actually something more to this, and he's lost his way along the way, and he's kind of just the idea of creating, he's lost himself in that, and it's the acquisition of that thing of power of
Always.
that got in the way of it. And you can see that we all have this relationship with the things that we create, and I think that it's an important counter to the prevailing narrative around technology that we see right now, that it's important to have a full conversation. I'm glad this is a part of that as well.
For sure. Yeah.
So what's your relationship with AI, out of curiosity? What do you think of it?
I think it's a complex issue.
Yeah.
I selfishly, I don't want it to take away from the human part of entertainment and creating. I truly believe in my heart that it'll coexist as it should. That, if you look at the things that are growing the most right now, it's live events and sports.
Yeah.
It's performances, plays, athletes in real action with humanity. And as things become more solved for us through AI, I feel like you can make a Star Wars version where everybody in it is AI, and it's probably going to be very entertaining, especially if you create certain, like, R2D2 or something. That's probably a bad example, but something carries over that we have a relationship with, and then we're invested somewhat. But if you try to do Schindler's List or Private Ryan AI,
Yeah.
I play Call of Duty. I kill 1,000 people a night. I could give a poop about any of them. And that's not good movie making.
No.
And you could make the argument that movies are fake. No one died in making Private Ryan. I hope not. However, they're humans that are doing it, and they're sharing human experiences, and it becomes relatable to us, and we need that. And so I think that you'll still have to make movies with people about the human experience, and you'll have stuff that AI helps us solve problems we couldn't solve before. And there'll probably be some AI characters that come out shining, like an AI Brad Pitt or whatever you want to
Sure.
say, somebody that has a following. But that will be its own movie, because I don't see how you can have enough empathy to be carried into something that's super dramatic, emotional situation, because there's no true loss, and we know that. And so I hope, in the same way that, the movies didn't destroy the theater, and TV for the longest time didn't destroy movies. It's more competitive now with COVID and the large screen displays that we all have and all that stuff. But I hope that it's just something that it's another tool and it coexists with us, and we keep on making them.
Well, I think to what you were talking about with sports and live events and these things that are still growing at this point in time, it's the connectivity element of it. that my home theater system is pretty good that I have here. My screen is pretty large. I have a really good setup at home. It's really nice, but I still go out and pay to go to the movie theater because I need that communal experience. I need to hear people laughing at things that maybe I wouldn't have felt that at the same time when you go see a horror film to hear, you can feel the tension in the room and the audience all there, to one of yours, 1 hour photo when you have Robin Williams on the toilet in that moment, and you realize this is a fucking horror movie right now. This is the scariest thing I've ever seen. And because you can feel the audience just all clenching at the same time. And you can't replicate that at home. That'll never happen. And I think that the human touch on creative things, it's necessary. You can have an animated feature that's still, something like Up or Flow that makes you cry. And it's the hand that touched it. It's not that it was made with computer. It's just that's a tool that a human used to express it, if that makes sense.
No, I completely agree with you. My brother and I directed the Nicole Kidman AMC
Yeah. That was you?
teaser that would go at the front of every movie that everybody had to see. Yeah, it's probably one of the things I've done that people have seen the most, that and a Taylor Swift video kills all my film credits altogether, right? The Taylor Swift has had like 3.5 billion views. So,
Wow.
it's hard to compete with that. But we did that, and then we're going to do a follow up to it. And to me, like what would be interesting is, maybe there's one of the family members, or maybe it's the little girl that's like, tonight's movie night, and everybody sits down to do it. She corrals them all up and they sit down. And as soon as it starts, the phone rings, the dog starts barking, the brother's on the iPad, mom's distracted,
Yeah.
and that's what happens. And I don't know. I have like attention, my attention span is weak, and I'll walk into a party and if there's a TV on, my eyes go right to it, and I'm done. Like I'm going to watch whatever it is, and maybe a movie I've seen 10 times, and I'm going to watch it. But when the distractions come up, it's mind blowing to me because I don't want anything to interfere with that experience.
Yeah. No, you want to be dialed into it. Everybody has a phone in their pocket, and the draw of that device is, it's tough to get through it. You have to consciously say, if it's movie time and you're sitting down at home to watch a movie, you have to say, I'm putting this in the other room so that I'm not distracted by it. And most people probably don't do that. And that's okay when you're at home. But in a theater, it's just not acceptable. And it forces you into a polite environment. And I actually really appreciate that.
That's exactly my point. I totally agree with you.
So then what's going to be next for you after this? You do commercials, you do video games, you do videos, you kind of do everything. So what's the next feature you have coming down the pike?
I start on Monday. We finish pre-prep Friday. And it's Aaron Sorkin's Social Reckoning.
Oh, the Social Network follow-up. How does that feel? Because how many holdovers are there from the Social Network too? Are you it? You and Aaron?
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting. I think that the particular point that this is taking place in is really important. Social Network was a film that, in my estimation, had no right to be as good as it was. A movie about Facebook at that point in time, when I heard about it, I thought everybody had lost their damn minds. I had no idea why this would be made. And then I saw it, and I love being proved wrong, and I was so wrong because it's just an utter classic. But this film, this particular point that this story is focused on, from my understanding, is just so relevant and so important, and something that a particular piece of history that we need to acknowledge sooner than later.
I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah, absolutely. And I about everything you said, when I first heard David was doing Social Network and offered it to me before, and I hadn't had a chance to read the script yet, I was like, what are we doing? Like, it made no sense to me. But as soon as you read it, and as soon as you appreciate the way that Aaron writes and the sophistication in his writing and the way that actors talk over each other, it's fantastic. And this one, could be every bit as poignant and to your point, like timely and it needs to be told, and we're all living a bit of it. So yeah.
How do you approach the follow up to that, though? Is that something that it's a continuation of the story, or is this really just the look is going to be wildly different? The story is the feel going to be
I
a
don't.
much
It won't be wildly different. It's different for
okay.
sure. We're not trying to. There's a handful of homages or Easter eggs that people may or may not pick up that in our meetings and stuff. It's more about Aaron and I getting a chuckle than anything else. Like there's not a lot of weight to some of it, but some of it is fun. I think Fincher will appreciate it. I hope. Uh, but it stands on its own. It's already happened. It's
Okay.
already been done. Like the history part of it has been done, and we're just going back and sharing it and doing it in his way. Um, the sets are different, and they're not kids, and they're not at Harvard, and they're not. So it will be different, but there'll be some tonalities that are the same, and it'll be a step brother as opposed to a brother.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where I think that it would be valid for a different filmmaker, which this is, to show up and say, this is a particular piece. It's just a website, it's an app, but this is a different part of history that's worth telling as well. You could go in the same way you could go back and tell outside of the Steve Jobs film, you could go back and tell another story about the history of Apple that'll be very relevant. And
Yep.
so I think that it's fair to go back and tell this other story about social media, that it's the continuation of it. It is the time from when social network was made to where we are now. The influence and the danger of social media, I think, is just we're much more aware of it than we were at that point when you made the original.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just a different time, and we're discovering new parts of it that are very, very influential. And what we can do moving forward as a society and stuff, what we have to do.
As a parent, do you have a moment where you're thankful that you didn't have to raise kids in the world of social media?
Yeah, my youngest, my daughter is 27, so she had some of it,
A little
but
bit.
not a lot because she didn't get a phone until she was older. I personally, like Fincher and I both are not part on Facebook. We've never had accounts, and I wouldn't know how to do it if I wouldn't know what to do. Um, that's just me personally. I just felt like I have too many things going on and too much life to live to go back. Now, I am jealous of friends that get connected to old relationships and other friendships and learn about people that, I don't know that. But I also am like, I'm living every day. So I don't want to, there's already enough just doing emails and text messages, let alone like all the other stuff. That's me. No, I don't question anybody else. But yeah, I think it changes, and there's some things in this new project that address that.
I'm very excited for it. It's something that I know you can't really talk about it in any sort of detail at this point, and I wouldn't have anything to ask about it because I haven't seen a frame of the thing yet. It hasn't been shot. So, but it's one of those ones I'm very, very excited for. So, how do you? And I know we're almost at time here, but how do you select what you do? What is it that drives you? Because I can't pick up any through line when I look through your body of work. There's, you try on multiple styles, you do things that are very measured and slow and that feel very quiet, and you do things that are very frenetic. You kind of jump all over the place. What is it
I
that
just
attracts you?
learned from my father a very long time ago that it's all about the story and finding out what the visual language is that's appropriate for that story to then give your talent the best opportunity to relate to their characters and deliver their messages. And so I read the scripts like everybody else does. I talk to the director and find out what's in his head. In this case, he's the writer, so he has more of a handle on it than anybody usually does,
Sure.
because he understands why each word was put where it was for what reason, which you don't always get. Like as a director, sometimes you have to interpret that as well, but not with Aaron. He has a lot of trust, and after being the Ricardos, he like used to like to say that we co-authored that movie, which is absolutely not true. It's just him being very gracious and uh, uh, modest. But I hear what he has to say and what's important to him about it, and just feel it out. It's reality based. We just came from a wildly colorful digital world in Tron, so it's none of that. This is all grounded. So I get to go back to what I'm usually more comfortable with is a human driven story, about some kind of emotional conflict that allows actors to make a character arc, and we all get to learn something from it. That's what that seems easy for me to visualize.
Sure.
Tron was not. That was harder for me. um, but this will have, and to his credit, he wants to evolve as a filmmaker as well. And this will be his fourth feature, not counting any of the TV shows that he's directed and all that stuff. But
Sure.
and stuff. And so we'll do things a little differently.
That's exciting though, isn't it? To try on different speeds in your life and to do things that you haven't done before and to try to do different styles and approaches. So
no, it's scary good. And if I get to share something with other filmmakers that are listening, is like fear is not your enemy.
no,
Fear is something to embellish. And as long as it doesn't stop you from accomplishing your goals, it keeps you reinventing yourself and pushing the boundaries so you stay fresh and stop and don't get into your own rut of repeating something you've already done. So I think it's not necessarily comfortable, but it's not something to be afraid of.
it's embracing it as a part of the process of learning, being scared, because when you're comfortable, you're complacent and you're not growing. And, I think all I know is this time here will end eventually. And I don't want to think, I doubt that on my deathbed, I'm going to say, I wish I was more comfortable for longer. That I wish I had taken it easier for longer. I have a feeling that it's going to be at the end that there will be more chances that I wish I had taken will be the regret that I have in the end. And so
yeah, I
confronting
think
fear is part of that.
that's a very grown up perspective as someone that has children. And as you get older, at some point you're like, wait a second, if I don't start doing these things that I wanted to do, I physically, those are going to be taken away from me, those opportunities. And to balance that as you get older, knowing now that it's coming because things start to physically change on us, that
Yeah.
you never occurred to you before. Like I like to like tell the story. Like, I used to put a camera on my shoulder as an assistant and run across the riverbed to the other side to meet the cameraman, right? Now I watch my foot go on the rock and make sure the rock doesn't move because I've fallen enough times and I know how much it hurts. And I love playing golf and I don't want to be racked up for 6 months because I slipped on a rock.
I literally on a jog less than 2 weeks ago, I completely ate shit because I stepped on a rock while I was running in the morning at 5:30 in the morning out there doing it. And it's just, I have to be more careful. I'm
Funny,
49.
right?
So I have more years behind me than I have in front of me. And I want to be walking for most of those. So if I can help it,
But that's our physical stuff of getting older. As far creatively, no, don't get older. Keep pushing.
yeah,
Keep challenging. Aaron and I are both gonna, it'll be in that family to answer your question, but it's going to be a little different and it's going to look different. The people are different. The sets are different. Here's a funny thing. We could go back and replicate all the exteriors on Social Network because it was all driven by like Harvard sodium
right.
vapor lights that they had around. Nobody has sodium vapor lights now. They've all been replaced by LED street
Of
lights.
course.
You would have to go back and do that in post or color correct every lamp that you're on a street that you're driving. So that doesn't necessarily exist unless you go make it exist now. It's like doing a period picture now. You would have to go and reinvent that sodium vapor light source in order to get those tonalities. So in of itself, it's going to be different. Just look at the difference between the street writing shots in Tron Legacy,
Oh yeah.
same
Yeah.
city.
Yep. Yeah.
but the streetlights have all changed now. We even use some of the same ramps, and in our chase sequence because we used a lot of street surface, right?
Right.
And the colors are totally different now.
Of course it is. I wouldn't have thought of that. And that look that you have, in when you talk about the sodium vapor lighting, when I think of Social Network, one of the shots I think of is when they're all standing outside of that party and you have that lighting over, and it just gives such a unique look to it that doesn't exist anymore. You have to be very conscious of creating that lighting now.
That's
I
right.
would not have occurred to me that you'll have LED lighting, which has a wildly different effect. That's a cooler effect, I assume, if that's the right terminology for it.
Well, they're all changeable now. You can make them, change colors on it and get to tones you want. But a filament light bulb is different.
Yeah.
Quality of light is different now. The way it comes out and reflects and wraps around fixtures is a little different now. And so if you wanted to replicate something like that, you would really want to go back and get, old Edison globes and put them in an old fixture. But now you're like, you have to go back and go to a prop house to get old lights that are only 10, 20 years ago we all used.
That's so funny. The things that you have to worry about in the day to day of your life. But I know we're at time right now, but just one last question for you. You've had an incredible body of work. Is there anything you look back at or while you were shooting that kind of day one, that you have that pinch yourself moment of, I can't believe I'm doing this one?
Without a doubt, it's on Fight Club.
Yeah.
I I don't know how I ended up there. I don't know how Fincher had that trust. I had shot for him. I had met him with my dad. We did a Madonna video called "Oh Father."
Yeah.
It was the first time we worked together. And then we did a bunch of commercials. And then we did the beginning of Aliens 3. But my father had Parkinson's disease, and the studio, not David, thought that as the scale of the picture got bigger, we would fall behind. And there was a lot of politics going on and stuff. And it turned out just better for us to not do that film. And we flew back the same week we started Final Analysis. So it worked out for everybody. And then I shot second unit and the title sequence with Aeres on 7,
Mm-hmm.
and shot second unit on The Game. So when David asked me to come to his house and talk about Fight Club, I thought for sure I was like shooting second unit again, right? And he handed me the script and he said, this might be the best script I ever get to direct. It might be the best movie Brad gets to act in. It probably won't make a lot of money. And I want it to be our cultural Blade Runner.
Yeah.
And read it and tell me if you're interested. And of course, I put my best poker face on, like, well, I'll take a look at it. And in my head,
Sure.
I'm like, like, I think when I got outside the door, I danced to my car and called my agent. And he's like, I have this script. He wants to know if I want to do it. My advice, if David Fincher gives you a script and asks if you want to do it, you don't need to
sight unseen. Just do it.
You do not need to read the script.
David Fincher tends to make his cinematographers look good, or vice versa. I'm not sure which way it's going, that exact relationship, but the guy seems to have a very strong visual sense.
That he does.
to put it mildly. And that's such an incredible film. And it's one of those ones that I think people need to go back to and reevaluate, because I think a group of people grabbed onto that film that maybe misunderstood it possibly. And it feels like one where the point got lost along the way for that film.
I think Fight Club is amazing. I think 7 is almost perfect.
I don't disagree. I just got the 4K of that a couple months ago, and it's such an incredible film. I was working at a movie theater when that came out, and I think I saw that movie 10, 15 times in the theater, just from different bits of walking in and out. And I would always watch the opening and I would always watch the end credits, just because it was something as simple as running it backwards like that. It was just blew my mind that you can break the rules at the time. And that was just when it's one of those films that particular period of time that really unlocked in my mind what was possible in film. And so, yeah, it's an incredible one. Again, another one that doesn't have any right to be as good as it is. It's on paper, it's just a serial killer movie, kind of thing, but it is something so much more than that. Incredible film. But
Couldn't agree more.
Jeff, thank you so much for taking the time to do this today, man. I really appreciate it. It's a honor to meet you, honor to get to speak with you, and good luck on the coming adventures this week. So I'm excited to see this one. Hopefully we'll get to chat again sometime.
Scary good. We dive in on Monday and we start. So
good for you, man. I mean, you got a lot of the right tools there backing you up. So having an Aaron Sorkin script, having the actors that you have in place, you have a lot of things that in my mind, as far as the deck being stacked, it seems like it's in your favor.
Yeah, it's up to us to drop the ball now. So, or not. I mean, but yeah, it's on us now, I should say. Yep, for sure.
Awesome.
So that's great.
Thank you for taking time out of your Saturday, man. I appreciate it. And hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.